Hello, everyone. I am Brian P. Easton, and I'm the author of a book series called Autobiography of a Werewolf Hunter. Welcome to the Werewolf Bar and Whiskey with a Werewolf Hunter. We're glad you could join us back at the Werewolf Bar for our November episode. So thanks for stopping by for a bit. Now, occasionally, for various reasons, we will forego our Creature of the Night segment. And tonight is just one of those occasions. To tell the truth, I thought I had a bottle of something back behind the bar that we could share tonight, but it turns out I do not. And so we're going to make it a dry episode tonight and skip the whiskey and move straight into the Werewolf Hunter. Now, the Werewolf Hunter specifically that I'm talking about is Michael Winterfox. And tonight I wanted to make the announcement, let everyone know that in just a couple of months, I plan to start writing the Winterfox Journals Book 3. I have done notoriously little writing this year, and I feel it the most now in this penultimate month of the year. The ideas that I've accumulated are kind of scratching at the back of my brain, wanting to be released. So 2026 will be the year that I break ground on the new novel. And there have been some of you that have asked me if Winterfox Journals was going to be a trilogy, just like the original 3. Well, the long-term answer to that is I believe they will continue past 3 books because Michael had lived such a long and adventurous life that could scarcely be contained in just 3 books, especially the size of which the last 2 have been. Now, that being said, in the shorter term, I do plan on pausing the Winterfox journals on the 3rd one and focus on what will be the last book of the life and times of Sylvester Logan James, who is, after all, the primary character in this series. Now, that volume was tentatively titled The Woodsman, or Woodsman, and it will cover Sylvester as a much older man than we left him at the end of the lineage. I expect that book will have plenty of pages. After that, don't be surprised if you see Michael back in action again, or possibly even a sequel or 2 to The Woodsman. That's just looking down the road and giving you my best guess of where we might be headed. Let's turn our attention now, if only briefly, to our old friends, the Universal Monsters. Now, last week I showed you trailers for Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein, which debuted on Netflix last week. And I also showed you a trailer for Luc Besson's interpretation of Dracula, A Love Tale. I will say this concerning Frankenstein. I thought it was absolutely a gorgeous piece of art, and I would love to see it on the big screen someday. One of the things that I liked about Frankenstein, especially this particular interpretation, was that Del Toro used Bernie Wrightson's art from his own take on the classic novel to inform and bring the latest iteration of the monster to life. It was something that I did not see coming, but it was a brilliant idea on Del Toro's part, as well as, it was great to see a huge homage like that sent up to Bernie Wrightson, of whom so many of us were fans of. The other thing I think is that makes this Frankenstein so special is that Del Toro really makes it his own, instead of simply drawing the story from the source material. Now, he omits several characters and introduces a couple of more. He circumvents some of the tropes that we've come to expect from a Frankenstein adaptation. And, if I dare say it, deconstructs the monster with the same kind of passion that Dr. Frankenstein must have possessed when he put it together in the first place. Some people don't like that. They don't like directors or screenwriters taking liberties with beloved source materials, especially, classics like Dracula and Frankenstein. But other people consider it necessary if you want to avoid retreads ad nauseum. One of the reasons I bring this up is because back in 2014, when Universal still had its eyes on its dark universe, we were given a film called Dracula Untold. And it caught a lot of hate from fans because it changed the Dracula character into a kind of gothic superhero. There were parts of the film I personally enjoyed, especially the way they tried to kind of weave together the historical Vlad Tepes along with the fictional vampire. But like Universal's other dark universe outings, it was not well received at the box office and garnered less than stellar reviews. But there was an outtake from the movie that I came across recently that I think you would like to see if you haven't found it already. Now, that scene from Dracula Untold that I'm about to show you didn't make the final cut, shown in theaters or even now on streaming. But it's on YouTube, and it's something I just happened to come across, as will happen. What I'm going to show you is a deleted scene that depicts one monster meeting another. And here's what happened that one time when Dracula met Baba Yaga.
Where did you come from?
The village.
Drums.
What drums?
The Turks. They're coming.
They are already here. They were in the village for hours. They've taken all the boys.
Forgive me. You're dead.
So are you. Feast on them, devil.
Hey, it's okay. It's okay. I'm not gonna hurt you. Listen, it's okay. Are you all right? It's okay. Come, I'll take you home. You're a gypsy?
My people were. Long ago.
I must get back to Dugoviste. If the Turks were here, many more would be there.
You need your strength. At least let me bring you a restorative.
That's very kind of you, but...
Please. For your kindness.
I'm fine. I really must be. You're Baba Yaga the witch. You eat children.
So will you. I have seen it. You have a little berry. Ingarus, you call it. A tasty name.
You know nothing.
I know there's a way to destroy you if your heart is pierced with wood.
What else do you know?
You're the one who escaped the mountain, unbound by any grave.
Even a wretched witch cannot abide a demon so foul. And I know what it is you thirst for. It is a thirst that knows no end. A thirst that will destroy us all!
No. I won't shed any more blood than I have to.
Fool. The thirst will overtake you.
I won't submit to it. I'm stronger than that.
No one is that strong.
There's a way, isn't there?
He has yet to drink.
Answer my question.
Oh, please. Have a seat. I don't bite. Your hand. Give it to me.
That's useful.
'Tis indeed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7 days. If you have not savored the blood of man in 7 days, then you may yet be a man again yourself.
And these gifts of mine, they'll remain until then.
Oh, that and more. No creature like you has ever freely roamed the earth before. You'll be irresistible to the eye and to the mind. And one taste of blood will set your fate in stone forever. Give in, and you'll be this way for all eternity. And give in you will, for it will call to you, torment you. You'll be helpless to resist.
So from Dracula Untold, maybe they should have left that scene in the film. I mean, at least it would have bumped the cool factor a little bit. I just found it interesting, and I would be curious to know the reasoning behind the folks who decided to leave it on the cutting room floor. Anyway, wanted to share that with you before we proceed with some of the latest movie reviews from X and Z. If you've been watching the show for a couple of months, you probably know by now that we have X and Z movie reviews featured on the show from time to time. They've become pretty regular, actually, courtesy of our friend Miles Booth at MB Press and his son. Now, they don't only do horror movie reviews and science fiction films, but they do so from their own generational perspective, thus X and Z. They've got a triple header for us tonight, so let's check in with the guys.
How scary are these movies really? Let's put them on the spooky meter. Weapons, long legs, and talk to me. This is X and Z Horror Movie Reviews, and I'm X with your Gen X perspective.
I'm Z with your Gen Z perspective.
And we're going to get started. Gen Z is going to kick us off with
Talk to me.
There you go.
So, diving right into my thoughts with this movie, it is about spirits, which, always a good topic. People love ghost movies, right? It's great. It's a great topic. Overall, it's got fantastic visuals, and the ghosts are very, very cool looking, and it's got some concepts that are interesting, captivating, but there are some areas where it's lacking. Character writing is so-so. It's got some captivating stuff and some other stuff completely unnecessary. The pacing in the movie as well is it's a little slower than it needs to be. It just needs to move a little bit faster. There are some scenes that are unnecessary, and I feel like had this movie been a little bit shorter, then I would like it a little bit more. But it is what, an hour and a half, roughly? Roughly. Anyhow, it's got some interesting. It's got an interesting pacing. It's so-so. It's got some. It gets a little trippy near the end, to generalize it, which is cool when you don't do it too much and make it confusing for the audience. I think that it can be a very, very cool effect. Just don't make it so that you're questioning, okay, what's real or what's going on. Don't lose track of what you got, because then you got nothing. But overall, I think that we needed more ghosts in the movie. I think if we had more ghosts, this would be a much better movie. There's a scene in particular, not even really a spoiler per se, but we do see the spirit realm. And it is like gruesome and it's fantastic. It's a fantastic visual. And I love it, and I wish we got to see more of it. So overall, Talk to Me is not a bad movie. Definitely like worth watching. The intro to the movie, and by that I mean, you know, the first 30 minutes is a little questionable, but keep watching. It gets better and better as it goes on. So overall, in the spooky meter, I'd give it a 6. Overall, I think it's got some potential. Not bad at all. So other than that, what are your thoughts on Talk to Me?
It was the directorial debut of Denny and Michael Philippou. And it's got some new people, new cast. Let's see. Sophie Wilde as Mia, Joe Bird as Riley, Alexandra Jensen as Jade, and then Miranda Otto, who's been around and knows her stuff. But primarily a new cast. And I liked what you're talking about, the ghosts.
Yeah.
I was really kind of on the whole movie and the whole concept up until the first ghost shows up. Then that pulled me right in.
It's like, ooh.
Then
like,
that pulled me
okay,
right in.
like,
And
this
then
is serious.
from that point on, I wanted to see more ghosts, and it's limited what they provide. All right.
Yes,
I will say these guys did this on a $4.5 million budget, and what they accomplished was amazing. Movie looks good. Good choice on cast members, especially Sophie Wilde, because she looks like, you know, could be anybody.
Yeah, everyday teen.
Man,
until she gets possessed.
When she gets possessed, boy, does she play that well.
Props. Hats off to you.
Yeah, no, did a really great job with that. The subject matter is okay. These guys really try to appeal to Gen Z, I think.
Definitely.
And it's a lot of modern slang. It's modern circumstances. It's definitely a younger crowd. It's high school students, basically. And somehow or another, they get a hand, and this is based on the old Hand of Glory myth and storyline, and it is a haunted hand, basically. And once you take hold of it, you invite the spirit realm into your world. What they do with it is unique, somewhat believable, maybe not completely believable.
But at the end of the day, we're talking about spirits, so they didn't do a horrible job with.
No, it's not a horrible job at all.
Mm-mm.
The movie does drag in a few places. I know what you're saying with that. They could have cut a few of the scenes out, and been better off for it. They could have added some more ghosty stuff in there and been better for that.
Much.
So on a spooky meter, I'm gonna join you with a nice solid 6.
Yeah.
Yep.
Overall, I think it's just above that halfway.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they hit a milestone there.
Yep.
So
all right,
moving on, we got Weapons. This is what, our most recent horror movie, right? Released this year, and it's releasing on HBO when?
Today.
Right,
the 24th. Coming out on HBO today. It's been out for rent for a while. I think most people that have, wanted to see it probably have seen it.
More than likely.
We'll do light spoilers, but we won't give away the whole.
We won't.
But popular movie over the summer. one of the horror movies that saved 2025 so far.
True that.
What did you think?
So, this movie, while it did get great reviews over the summer, I think that is partly due to people being extremely hungry for more entertainment and especially horror.
Yeah.
We see this with The Black Phone 2, for example, a
Yeah.
more recent
Doing
horror
well
movie.
as well.
But overall, this movie just I thought about it after watching it a little bit, and overall I only liked like one or two aspects of the movie, and then the rest I could have done without. The movie largely revolves around witchcraft, and I'm not going to get into that because that would spoil the movie. But overall, it's got a witchy factor, and that in and of itself is fantastic. We love witches, anyhow, or at least I do. Overall,
Horror movie reviews.
yeah, right. Overall, the witch factor is a plus. That is like, yes, I feel like they could have leaned a little bit more into it.
Yep.
And been better off. They do add some aspects that are like, okay, that's cool, or it's a nod to this spell, or so on and so forth. Either way, it's cool what they did, but they needed to do more. Other than that, we got a lot of people like Julia Garner, and these actors and these characters. The characters are very poorly written. They try to make you care about them to some degree, and I'm not really feeling it. And the actors certainly didn't do justice to these characters. There's not a lot of justice to be served. They're pretty shallow characters, I think. And for a 2-hour movie, somewhere around there, it drags. It's got some weird pacing where it jumps between character to character. What's happening over here with one character while what's happening over here with another character simultaneously. Kind of like Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, again,
A little.
like we did in our Trick or Treat review, we're going to bring up the term hyperlink cinema.
Yes.
And it's not easy to follow necessarily. This movie in particular takes you down the road and leaves a lot of questions, and then it goes to a new scene with new characters,
whole new direction,
and they back up so that you go back in time, and then they move forward and kind of fill in the blanks. So you go this far, you jump back, then you go this far, then you jump back, then you go jump that, and it's not easy to follow along.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's really not. They go in way too many directions for
Yeah.
you to really follow along, and especially like at the end, it's like I don't even know what's happening. It's a barrage of like, boom, boom, boom. This character, this is happening, and it's like, okay. And there are some characters that they give names that don't really matter, or they play a really small role in the end of the movie. And when you name a character in a horror movie, or any story for that matter, you need to give them a larger purpose, because at that point, like, why do I know their name if they're not important?
I don't know about that, but
That's how I feel about that, at least. So when you name a character, do something with them. Because at that point, I'm taking up memory, thinking about, okay, this character, what makes them important? Not that I'm short on memory in my brain.
no.
But
I mean,
you
it's
get
not
what
a bad point.
you get what I mean.
Yeah.
Also with the symbolism, there's some in this movie, but there's not a lot. They needed more. This movie needed more stuff, especially with the witch, and especially in a movie like this, where you've got witchcraft, and it's like, okay, that's real. You got to have more in the background, such as in a movie like The Conjuring. There's a lot going on in the background that isn't a focal point, but when you notice it, it's like, oh, wow, I see that, and it's really, really cool, and I feel like you need that in this type of movie so that you can analyze it, so that it's fun, so that you go back and you watch it again. For this movie, I don't want to go watch it again. I don't think I missed anything. I mean, point me out if I'm wrong, but I didn't spot anything in the background, and I was looking for it the entire time. So I was really kind of disappointed there. But overall, Weapons, not a great movie. Spooky meter, I'd give it probably, with some of the scenes, I'd give it a solid, 7, maybe 5 or 7, in that range, somewhat close to Talk to Me, because they do lean in some directions that are like, oh, and then there's some directions where it's like, ee. It's back and forth, and by the end, it's like, that's it. And there's some confusing factors in the movie. So overall, Weapons, I don't think it's all too fantastic, but I do think people are hungry. So that's how I feel about weapons.
Okay.
Do you have anything
Alright.
more to say about weapons?
I haven't said anything about weapons yet.
Well, you know what I mean. You pitched in a little bit. I'm just
Okay.
saying.
So, directed by Zach Kreger,
Yes.
and it stars Julia Garner. It stars Josh Brolin, Benedict Wong, Alden Ehrenreich, Ehrenreich, probably saying that correctly, and Amy Madigan. And then there's a child actor named Carrie Christopher, who does a good job playing a traumatized child.
Indeed.
So yeah, this one I think I liked it a little bit better than you did,
Okay.
although it certainly wasn't as big as the hype, in my opinion. So I don't disagree with that. I did find it difficult to move along with, and I also do agree with you. We did not get powerhouse performances here.
No.
Really, I really don't think that they gave Julia Garner much to work with. I just don't. She plays a teacher, and she is a focal point as far as where this story goes. It involves 17 missing children that all left their houses at the same time, 2:17 in the morning, and disappeared, and no one can find them. Josh Brolin plays the father of one of the children. Also, kind of a mid performance for these folks. Again, I just don't think that the material was there to support the performance. The dialogue is
I
not
completely
there.
agree.
And then jumping around in time and with different characters every time to bring it all together at the end, it does get confusing. But having said that, I still watched it, kept up with it, moved along with it. You're not expecting the transition. I mean, there's a lot of misdirection in this movie when they finally give away who's doing what exactly. You did not see that one coming, which is a good,
the
fresh take on it.
Yes, the twist is
And
solid.
then, what you brought up as far as symbolism and details go, I agree with that as well. There could have been some additions
Some in the background,
to lore. Yeah.
We could have known more about just little details about how the witch does her thing.
You
and,
could have
this
known,
and that.
there could have been interesting details that took the place of a lot of the dialogue. Show don't tell would be the old adage. And overall, it's a cool movie. It's definitely representative of what I think of as modern horror from the new up and coming set of directors.
Okay.
And I think that Amy Madigan as Gladys has a future as Gladys.
I
So
definitely think so
a
too.
lot of unanswered questions. I will say this: by the end of that movie, I had no idea what the hell had happened. I had to go
there's not a
rewatch,
lot of explanation, is there?
and then I looked up reviews and discussions on the internet, and then finally, and maybe it's just me, maybe I didn't get it, but man, I was like, oh, is that it? And still, a lot of things were not answered. So
there's not a lot of.
if you watched it and you feel that way too, then I'm glad, and you're not alone.
No, don't worry.
Okay.
You were not alone.
Okay. Spooky meter for me. I'm gonna settle back on 6 for this one.
Yeah. Fair.
So
Fair enough.
if it had more details, that would have bumped it up for me, but it didn't, and so it's like I didn't quite understand that. And having we do like witches. Studied a lot of literature and stories about witches, and this just gives kind of like a light.
It's
a light coat of like
sprinkling of
yeah,
witchery.
and like ooh, and then there's this. You're like ooh, how did that work exactly?
Yeah.
But
So
yeah,
and there's some
so-
plot holes where it's like, if you think about it, it's like, wait, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Well,
So-
that in every other movie, and it's
Okay.
always difficult to pull off the supernatural. I do get the part
Definitely.
where you don't want to give too much information because all you do is set traps for yourself. Okay.
Okay.
However, you do need the right amount.
You do need the right amount.
Yep.
Sometimes it's hard to find, but sometimes when you have a concept, I feel like you should just run with it instead of trying to convince the audience, like, okay, this is how it works, and trying to explain everything, because that digs a whole new hole
You got to
for
have
yourself.
the right amount.
So exactly, finding that balance is definitely important.
It's a skill. It's definitely
Most definitely.
not easy to
So,
do.
I would have definitely wanted more of the witch, and they would have been better off for it. But overall, it is difficult to find that. Now, with that being said, moving on to our third and final movie, Longlegs. This got massive support after it released. A lot of the audience, they love this movie. A lot of people, a lot of critics have reviewed this movie and said, like, this is solid stuff. Now, I've seen this movie twice. You saw it once, I believe?
Once
So far. But I definitely feel like it's worth rewatching, and I'll get into why right now. It is about the devil, just overall Satanism and the devil, but also childhood abuse and trauma. And that being said, it has some very interesting concepts, but it is extremely grim. It's got some stuff that's like, ooh,
it's moderately grim.
Okay, it's not going to twist your stomach. It isn't like, like, okay, I don't want to watch this anymore. You know, you're not going to be feeling queasy afterwards. I don't think. At least I wasn't. But it's overall very, very conceptually, like, very well done. I love the idea of the devil and how he works with the way his systems in this movie, and the fact that he has someone doing his work for him. Mr. Longlegs himself, played by Nicolas Cage. And wow, I've not watched a Nicolas Cage movie in a while, actually, but he does a fantastic performance. I just like to point that out. Everyone in this movie does a really great job, but he, with his over the top attitude, of course, always, like, that whole character, he makes that character happen. Had it been anybody else, I don't think it would have been as great with the character specifically. Now, other than that, I feel like the story is a little bit loose. They could have thought it out a little bit more. And that's really where this movie needs more work, more thought put into the details, into the story, and into the characters. They did a phenomenal job with all of it, but it just needed a little bit more push. Because some of it is, like, a little confusing, and it's not completely solid, and we kind of jump from here to this concept, and it's like, okay, concepts 10 out of 10. Actual, putting into action, they could have done a better job, but it is there, and it's just waiting to shine. So a little bit more thought put into this movie would have been great. There are some details in the background. It has the most detail out of the three, I think, or at least I saw. Overall, I feel like had we
best plotting, I would definitely say.
Okay, fair. Had we had more character development, because they do a really great job with the character development in this movie, or lack thereof, actually, because the main character, the protagonist, is kind of locked in one mindset due to her childhood trauma, and they talk about this in interviews and reviews, and it's a key part of the movie. But overall, Longlegs is grim to a certain degree, a moderate degree, like you said, and it has some really, really great concepts. So overall, in the spooky meter, I'm going to go with a 9, like 8 or 9. Okay. I don't feel like it's a 10 out of 10 because I'm not shivering my timbers over here, but I am like, okay, like that's pretty cool. Like, I like thinking about it. So that's my take on Longlegs, at least. What do you think?
So this one's directed by Oz Perkins, and its lead is Micah Monroe. She plays an FBI agent. Her partner is Blair Underwood, who plays an FBI agent. Alicia Witt plays her mother, who is extra creepy.
Exceptionally creepy.
You have, of course, Nicolas Cage playing Longlegs, and then Kiernan Shipka, who plays a very small role, but very creepy performance as the only survivor of Longlegs. And just to give a little summary here, Longlegs is a serial killer. and has been for a very long time, and has never been caught. So the FBI is following this serial killer, and they have a newer agent. Micah Monroe is playing that role, and she has
Some psychic ability to some degree.
an affinity for this character.
Okay.
And they put her on this case, and she is able to kind of tune in, I'll just say, without giving too much away. Where Oz Perkins really captures you is building up the tension and building up the what am I going to try to call this here? It's the relationship between Longlegs and this FBI agent. A lot of people have compared this movie to Silence of the Lambs. Not exactly, but I see where
okay.
there are comparisons
there's
to be
a creep
made.
factor that goes along with some parts of Silence of the Lambs that I could partially see, but these movies are very, very different.
Very different.
Very
And,
different
This
movies.
is not Silence of the Lambs.
This is definitely not to that degree. No.
But you'll see the similarities. So I liked the performances, and Nicolas Cage over the top, heavy prosthetic
Mhm.
makeup, really creepy character. That's either going to work for you or it's not. It's kind of distracting in some areas, and yeah,
You found it distracting.
a little bit.
That's interesting.
a
I didn't-
little bit.
I found that completely captivating
Okay,
because
all
he's
right.
so out of his mind with the
Right.
Satanism that it's
Well-
just like, oh my, like
Yeah, he plays
how
a
is
guy
this,
that's like possessed, I guess, by the devil.
he's not possessed. He's just
An agent of the devil.
He's a complete agent,
And
of
so
the
is
devil.
this FBI's agent's mother, and a number of other people.
Yes.
So, and I'll tell you where, without trying to spoil too much, where it kind of lost me, I guess is the best way to put it. There's an element to how the devil manifests itself in the end. And by element, I mean an actual object that just,
That
I'm
is
like,
the medium between the devil and
Yeah,
the connection.
not gonna go too far
the
with
real
it.
world.
when you see it, if you've already seen it, you're going to know what I'm talking
Of
about.
course.
And if you haven't seen it, you will when you do see it.
Yes, they make it.
It just, it's like, why that? Like, everyone gets the whole part where the devil possesses people. So why did we have to have this thing that it's kind of like the essence of the devil in an object?
Okay.
Like,
I don't know why. I don't know why he couldn't have just possessed.
well, let's just say it's an object within an object. And the outer object, which is a doll, I'll just say it, it's fine. That works. Like, that's creepy as hell.
Yes.
The object that lives
Lives
inside of
inside
the
the
doll,
doll.
like, that's a definite what? WTF? Like, I don't
See,
understand.
For me, I'm like, I just jumped to, okay, that's the medium that they chose to go with. I'm like,
See,
I
to
don't
me,
care about that so much. I'm
Okay.
like,
all right.
what does that matter exactly? It could have been anything. That,
Oh no, to me,
connects
it's
to
like
the devil,
anytime
right?
you add something, you got to be careful of the questions it's going to raise naturally. So in that one,
Okay.
I was just like, and why was that in there? But sometimes I do that. Sometimes I get too fixated on like one small thing, and it just pulls me
Well,
out of the story.
They don't try and make it. They don't really give it a name. They don't make it like a focal point so much. I mean, it is an important factor, but they don't make it any more than it appears to be. It is simply the connection.
Yeah, no,
to
I
the
get it,
devil,
and that's
to
the
the real
part
world.
that bothers me. I mean, even if they just said it's made out of, something that the devil likes, then I've been
Right.
like, well, okay. But no, it's just like
Right, no explanation
this
to why
this random
this object.
thing that has nothing to do with the devil. That has more to do with a nuclear bomb than it does the devil. You're like,
Okay. In any case,
yeah,
objects
I'm going
objects
on and on.
aside, enough rambling out of both of us actually. In any
Okay.
case,
So,
Longlegs,
Yeah.
solid
So
movie, I think.
I did enjoy it. I do think that the spooky factor is the highest of the three. I agree with you on that. I'd give it a 7.5.
Okay.
All
Fair
right, and it's solid, mostly because of Micah Monroe's performance. Like she really does portray, a traumatized person.
No, she does
And
she does a fantastic
She
job.
does, and then the other one, the Kiernan
The
Shipka.
mother. Oh no.
The mother was good.
The mother was
She was
solid,
good,
but which
the girl that was the survivor of the attack.
oh the
Right.
southern girl, yes.
She tries. It's some of the dialogue is goofy.
Some of
and
that
they,
is questionable.
They done tried to make it too southern, but the performance, like it's creepy.
She does add some creep factor, and she is creepy looking.
Yeah,
They
the whole
did a good job.
thing. Yeah,
They did a good job with the creep factor.
Yep.
So overall, Longlegs, solid movie. Talk to Me, better than I thought it was going to be. I
Mhm.
watched the trailer for it back in 2022, and I was very questionable. Like it was a very questionable movie. I was like, okay, I don't like it. Didn't inspire me to watch it, but having watched it today, very like, okay, fair, good, solid movie, solid take on spirits. Weapons is definitely the weakest, I think, in my opinion, because they just didn't lean into any specific
I don't
cool
think
factor.
Weapons isn't a weak movie. I would recommend any of these three movies for a
Really?
decent Halloween watch.
I would put Weapons
They're
on.
solid. They're good movies. They're not bad movies,
Weapons for me would be the movie,
but they're
that
not
I'd-
great movies.
It would be the movie I'd put on in the background at a Halloween party. That's
Okay.
just how I feel about that. Every other one, I would want to pay attention because you can
Okay.
kind of follow along with.
Yeah, no,
Weapons,
you can,
whether or not
you
you're
know-
watching it like a whole lot. Like and now
Mileage
this.
may vary. Everyone sees these things a little bit differently. Yeah.
So, in any case, these are solid movies
Yep.
overall. Weapons, meh, in my opinion,
Okay.
but definitely worth watching at least once.
And if you have HBO, you can start watching it today.
Bing! And Longlegs is on Hulu, and Talk to Me is on also HBO.
Also HBO.
Also HBO. So if
Exactly.
you have those two platforms, you can see all
You're
these
in luck.
movies on streaming for free.
Yep.
So overall, we are done with this review. All right. I'm Z with your Gen Z perspective.
I'm X with the Gen X perspective.
And as always, we thank you for watching.
I'll be honest with you, I have not seen any of those movies, which is one of the reasons I wanted to have them share this tonight. For people like me who are maybe not so quick into going into the theaters to see some of these movies, it helps to have some guidance from people whose opinion you can rely on. Whether you're getting a little long in the tooth like Miles and this guy, or you're seeing the world through the lens of Generation Z. Thank you, fellas, for bringing us your insights for those three films. Be sure to check out their YouTube channel, too, which you can find the URL for in the description down below. In fact, in the description down below, you can check out everything to do with this channel. My book series, of course, and there's even a Spotify playlist for the novels down there in the links. And that's all I've got for you this cold and wet November evening. Be sure to like and subscribe before you leave the Werewolf Bar tonight. And come back and visit us again next month, and we'll put a bookend on 2025. We appreciate you joining us this evening, and let me wish you a happy and peaceful Thanksgiving. And as always, happy hunting and mind the moon.